Come on in, everybody. It's time for the Southern Route. So, what's the Southern Route all about? Well, it's about Southern stuff. Southern people, Southern music, Southern food, Southern nights, Southern traditions, nostalgia, and so much more. Hi, everyone. We're back with another episode of the Southern Route. I am your host, Shannon Courier. This week, I am joined by 1818 Farms owner Natasha McCrary, and we have a very full hour, so we are going to jump right in. Hi, Natasha. Welcome to the Southern Route. I'm so excited to talk with you and share with my audience about 1818 Farms.
Oh, thanks, Shannon, for having me today.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to learn about you and your family, the 1818 Farms business. But let's start first with where 1818 Farms is located.
Yes, we're located in northern Alabama, in between Decatur and Huntsville. Mooresville is actually in the southern tip of Limestone County. It's a very small town. It's just off exit 2, which is Mooresville Road, off of 565, if people are familiar with that. And it's just like the town itself is only 50 people or so, and they call it Alabama's Williamsburg because it's a very historic town, and a lot of the homes are from the 1800s. And we have a bakery slash coffee shop. We have a bike, like a mountain bike shop, a post office, and then Lila's little house that has sweet treats. So it's always, for those who are traveling, a great place to stop and visit.
Oh, it sounds like a great little town. I'm from Alabama too. I actually grew up in Montgomery and moved away for 25 years, and then we relocated back to Wetumpka, Alabama, outside Montgomery about 8 years ago. So I am not familiar with Mooresville, but I'm familiar with the Huntsville area. So I have a feeling on my next trip out, I'm going to have to make a stop. So I thought my little town was small, but 50 people is pretty small.
Well, I think we have this cute shirt that we wear. It's kind of it has the 1818 Farms and our little sheep logo, and it says population 58. And we may have to redo it though, because we've had that shirt for years. This is our 11th year, but people who had kids from the census, now they've grown and they're at college. So I told my husband, we may have to revisit, because I'm thinking maybe it's more like 50 people now. So, but yeah, it's small. Yeah. So sometimes I'll say 50 and they go 50,000. And I said, no, 50, like 50. There are 50 people. So yeah, it's very small. No stoplights. You'll be here. And I'm sure someone will, when you're here walking around, talk to you. And I had somebody message me today here from Madison, Mississippi, and said, oh, they just had the greatest time. Everyone was so friendly while they were walking around town, and they learned so much history about the town. And spring, when we're recording this, there's not a more beautiful place than Mooresville. When you get into like April, it's just gorgeous here.
Oh, wow. I love small towns like that where everybody is, you're not afraid to talk to people. You say hello to everybody and you can strike up a conversation at the drop of a hat. I love that. So, are you originally from Mooresville?
My husband is. So our kids are the 6th generation to live in our home here. So we live in the home that he grew up in, his dad grew up in. So it's a historical home, and it's, a lot of history here for our family has been here for so many generations, and it's more of a federal style house where we live. And it's just really great, to have all those pieces of history here, that our kids, I think now as they're getting older, they're realizing now how lucky they are, to live in the same home. Not very few people can say that I lived in the home where my ancestors were from.
Absolutely. What interesting stories you must have about the home and things that you can share with the kids that they wouldn't know about and get to see firsthand if they weren't there in a generational home like that.
Yes, for sure. And we go back into some of the original furniture still in the house, and have portraits of all the women who've lived in the house before, and we have actually one room where we've taken old photographs, and we had them from the first person who lived here all the way up to our family. and I have them calligraphy on the outside, so you can really, a lot of people, as y'all know, you have a picture in the old, when we were growing up, you wrote on the back of the picture.
Right.
Well, then no one knows if it's in a frame and matted. You're not going to know. So I had someone, calligraphy who this was, their full name, and kind of have that piece of history. That was kind of like the thing that I added to the house when we moved in, was really so people could know from whoever has our house next in our family who's come before them.
I think that's so interesting. Is there like a cool piece of history with that home that kind of stands out that you like to share with people?
Well, one of the things that's very interesting here is we have one of the oldest still standing outdoor kitchens. So, and we have a lot of the farm tools and things like that were here, and that's interesting. But the funniest thing is my husband's great grandmother bottled her own beer in Prohibition, which is terrible, but we still have those beer bottles. So that's the funny thing we say. We had some friends visiting this weekend who'd never been to our home, and I was telling them, well, this is Mother Dear's, her beer bottles from, whenever during Prohibition. So that's one of the funny things to me, that we still have that. And everyone chuckles when I say that. So,
Absolutely.
and we have like there's an outhouse, in our backyard still, like an old outhouse. So our kids thought that was so funny growing up, that there was an old outhouse at the end of the yard, that, for them to say, oh yeah, say, look how lucky we are. You have like a real bathroom now, which the boys love to go in there, of course. But the outhouse is interesting, but having that old kitchen, and just for it to still be standing, because that was one of the reasons that kitchens weren't attached to the homes, because you had so many fires. And so, most of them in the Southeast, they were going to be, they probably burned. So we still have, an old kitchen, which is very neat to kind of see that.
I don't think I knew that's why they were outdoor kitchens. I don't know that I ever put that reasoning together, that there were a lot of fires.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So did that one ever burn? I mean, did it have to be rebuilt or anything that you know of?
Not that I know of. I mean, I think it's still original. We have the original smokehouse and that building. So not that I know of. I'm sure there were fires, but I mean, it's significantly, I mean, it's old. I mean, you can tell just from the way the construction of it, the type of wood that was used. It's almost like the smokehouse is more like a log cabin look, but it's been painted over the years. But it's definitely interesting to see. But of course, I would never light a fire in there, because the chimney's so old. But I always say that's one of the goals, is to be able to restore that, where you can demonstrate. I always thought it'd be really cool at the farm when we grew a lot of vegetables. Or, you see that in Williamsburg when they demo that. I thought that would be really interesting, but that would be years down the road. We'd have to do some renovations of that chimney.
Things to look forward to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the name. Where did 1818 Farms come from?
And this is a great tie-in with what we've been talking about with Mooresville. Is we were trying, when we started, we're starting our 11th year, and we were trying to decide in the beginning, what can you name your business that has a meaning. Like, I'm sure anyone who's listening, you name what you do for, what your business is. There's a motive to what you name it. And we couldn't decide, and we knew we were going to grow lavender, and we didn't know, would we name something like that? And we couldn't decide. And then it was around the bicentennial of the town, and the town was actually incorporated in 1818. Alabama didn't become a state until the year 1819. And since our family's been here for so many generations, we thought that would be a very nice tie-in, the 1818 Farms, as a nod to when our town was actually incorporated. So, and it's, I have to say, it's nice too, because I think a lot of people, they remember, it's an easy number to remember, 1818, but really it's just a nod back to our heritage here, and us, our family being here for so long.
I love that story. We do. We choose things that have some kind of meaning to us. And I love that. And it really is just honoring your heritage and your ancestry in that area. I love it. So I want to talk, about how 1818 Farms got started, but I have to say, before we get into that, I wanted to read your mission statement, because I just absolutely love it. And I want to be sure that the listeners get to hear it. So this is 1818 Farms. Life the way it used to be. preserving history and honoring tradition by working a sustainable farm, producing handmade products, and educating the public on the value of self-sufficiency, craftsmanship, and a strong sense of community. And I love that because I talk a lot on my show about how things used to be and growing up. I'm 52, so how things were growing up and reminiscing about how life used to be and how it used to be so much simpler. And I think that was just such a way to honor that. And I love going back to the small towns and the small communities. And it makes me think back, my granny canned, she had a farm. It's not where they live full time, but it had an outhouse. It didn't have anything inside. It wasn't heated. We were out there with the pigs and the chickens and doing the eggs and the beans and the corn and all of that stuff. And it really made me think back to all that I loved about that time in my life.
Yes, and it's really, one of the main reasons we started the farm was to teach our children about sustainability, how you can work the land, really being stewards of the land and animal husbandry. So I thought really when that's kind of our tagline is life the way it used to be, that's what I wanted my kids to experience. I never gathered a farm fresh egg, but I thought that's something that would be important for them. And I'm so proud of that phrase, life the way it used to be, because I think for all of us, I yearn, like you said, for time when times are slower, when you knew your neighbor. It's things have changed over the years, and I think that was a great fit for that. And a big part of what we do is about education and wanting people to feel welcome here. So it really means we tried to incorporate, develop our mission statement of what we wanted our farm to be and what we wanted to mean to other people, because a lot of people can't live on a farm. They aren't able to experience that, but that's especially through social media and our YouTube. We try to share that with others. And I think the education is a big cornerstone for us, because I think that you're never too old to continue learning. I learn something new, every day. So it's hopefully we're inspiring other people to continue to learn and to really get to know their community.
I absolutely love this thought process, and we're going to finish this conversation right after this break. This is Shannon Currier on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
I'm Ron Samuels. We put it in reverse gear so you can enjoy the history of popular music and hear the soundtrack of life Wednesdays at 8 Eastern and 7 Central, right after the train station on tncradio.live.
Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On the show, Ron interviews guests to help inform professional drivers just like you about the importance of things like human trafficking to sex addiction, to how to overcome the impossible odds on the way to success. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
We're back and jumping right back into this conversation with Natasha McCrary from 1818 Farms. There aren't that many kids that probably grow up in a farm these days. They're sitting behind computers and playing video games and not necessarily in that outdoor sunshine. So I hope your kids feel blessed to live there, because I know people, take vacations to go and do what you all get to do every single day. So what a blessing for them to be able to do that. So how did 1818 Farms come about? What made you want to start? Are you from a farm? Were you on a farm? You said you had not gathered eggs before yourself.
I was definitely,
how did this happen?
I was definitely not from a farm, but I did grow up, our family, as you were talking about, we grew pretty much all of our food. My mom has always canned, still cans. I weeded the garden, and at that point in my life as a child, didn't really understand how much I was learning through my parents. I'm sure like anyone else, when it's summer and you're picking at rocks and weeding, you're like, oh, this is terrible. But now I'm so
Right.
appreciative of all that, seeing things. But really, we were, my kids were the age where my youngest was going to be going into kindergarten. And I wanted to go back. I'd been a stay-at-home mom while they were younger. And I wanted to go back to work, but I didn't. I wanted to start something, my own business, and be able to start that business and let the children see about business planning and what it takes to run your own business. Because if they want to be an entrepreneur, I thought this is a great way to inspire them and just see, and it will make you see. Our oldest does not want to own his own business. He sees that there is never a vacation day. Even when you're on vacation, if there's an emergency, you're not on vacation. So I think there's things they have learned they would like to do and not do as well. But my middle child fell in love with this. We were in North Carolina, and he saw this sheep. And we, for those of y'all who are new to us, if you'll go to like our website or Instagram, you can see we breed this breed of sheep called the South Down Baby Doll sheep. And when they're fully wooled, like they're so cute right now. They look like smiling teddy bears. They're like fluffy, and they're small, very, for sheep, they're not tiny, but I'm talking maybe 75 to 100. Middle son just fell in love with this breed. And the more I studied about the breed, it was almost extinct in the 90s. There were around 300 of these sheep left in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that was another way, if we started raising these sheep, it would, another mission is to preserve this historic heritage breed. And that's another, and there was a lot of education in that because I'd never had a sheep. I had two dogs my whole life. So my son had said, oh, I would love to get the sheep, and we could sell its wool, and we can sell its manure, and we can rent it for nativity scenes. He had all these ideas. And I started thinking, well, we had an area where we could do, a small farm. And I thought, well, this might be a great way, a great family building project. In the beginning, we were going to primarily be agritourism and teach a few, like I was going to have birthday parties and, field trips, and we did farmers markets. I grew primarily in the beginning about 75% produce, 25% or 100% cut flowers. But, it was, going to be just more agritourism. But over time, for anyone out there who gardens, and especially in Alabama, once the frost comes, you're kind of like, you don't have a lot you can sell. And, you still have bills. When you have a farm, there's always a bill. There's, vet bills and feed bills and electricity. And, there's a lot of different bills. So that's how the products came about. As I knew that first winter, I really needed to find a way to have a stream of revenue. And that's how, the product line was really out of necessity to feed the animals. I didn't, my wildest dreams would never have thought we would be where we were today with the product line, but that's just kind of how, our path sort of changed then.
Well, it's interesting how you get led in a direction that you weren't anticipating because of a need. So your youngest child that fell in love with the sheep, is he the one that wants to be the entrepreneur, or the one that does not?
Oh yeah, he's our middle one. So I would say so. Yeah, our oldest, he's out of college, and he's he's a computer science engineer. So middle is definitely business, and the youngest is still trying to decide what she's going to do. She's in high school, but isn't sure. But is very creative. But it does, I think it's given them time to see things they might or might not like. Like they've helped park cars at events. They've helped serve at farms when we used to do farm to table dinners. They've helped with sheep shearing. They've helped deliver lambs. There's so many different areas. Like our middle son, when we transitioned our website, he moved all of our blogs over from one website to, he moved there, and he was like, y'all are much better at blogs than y'all used to be. I was like, well, I hope so. Like 9 years later, I hope I'm a little bit better. And the technology is better. But you are also like their flower delivery. They deliver flowers. They've all delivered flowers. We've had them do routing, like, because, if you're delivering 60 bouquets, you need to make sure that you're routing correctly and you're delivering within zip code. So there's a lot of things you can do. It's sometimes I think people are in a hurry and they don't want to give someone else that responsibility, but I think it teaches your kids what they may or may not want to do.
Yeah, gosh, you're teaching all kind of things there. Your entrepreneurship, money, parking cars, starting at the very bottom, just letting people get their cars where they need to be, as well as logistics. I mean, you're teaching logistics with the flower delivery thought process too.
Yes, and it is. I remember when my middle child started, he was just 16. I mean, he was barely 16 and he was delivering. Well, what should I do? I'm like, well, then there is a telephone number on the list. That's who you have to call. Mama doesn't know what to do, but that taught a lot of communication skills, because if you had a delivery issue, you needed to text the recipient or contact them and let them know I've just dropped it at your porch. So there are little things that maybe you wouldn't think, there's a lot that they could learn, but it's sometimes that you learn the most from the small things.
I think communication is a huge thing that young people need to learn, because I think with the technology we have today, there's less face-to-face communication than there used to be. Growing up, we didn't have that. So you learned how to talk to people of all ages and you were comfortable with that. And I think that's a skill that is lost on the younger generations. And I have two myself. I have a 23-year-old and a 19-year-old. So, sometimes their communication skills are not are lacking. I have not done a good job in that.
Yeah, because I know like this past year at our big open farm day, my oldest was helping direct traffic parking cars. And he was like, that was a lot harder than you think. He was like, because people want to cut line or not go where they're supposed to go. And then because the town was having an event, so he was helping with our people and, their visitors too. And then my daughter, we had the little cute farm animal, the little water tattoo. You put the little tattoo and you do the water. So she was putting all those on the kids.
Oh, fun.
So she was telling me about all the kids she talked to that day. So, I mean, even that is an experience of, do I want to, be with children? I mean, if you're there for 7 hours with kids, that will you're putting on the farm animal, the little lamb and the pig tattoo. I mean, I think you're going to decide what you want to do, but there's just little things like that. And I do think that helps them see all that goes into making an event, handling an event, what the planning that has to go into it, and logistics, and there can be hiccups. So there's a lot that people can learn that way.
Exactly. I think events are a great way to learn the things that you enjoy, the things you don't enjoy, and the preparation. Boy, it makes you learn. You want to prepare ahead of time and not try to wing it as you go into.
Yes.
And like you say, do I want to work with animals? Or do I want to work with people? That can, you can learn a lot in that direction as well. So what animals do you currently have on the farm besides the cute baby doll
sheep? So we have around 17 sheep right now. We'll start lambing, hopefully, if all goes as planned, mid-April. And then we have two little miniature pigs named Clover and Mr. Riggs. They're like just little tiny pigs. And for years, we did field trips and story time adventures. We've kind of moved away from that just because we're so busy in the flowers. But most children had never seen a pig other than a storybook. These are just little pigs. So it's like the story, little pigs. So anyway, the two little pigs, and then we have some hens. Now we're going to get more hens this year because ours are so old. Like, they are so old. They're in retirement. We've had, hens for so long. Someone said, are they laying? I said, laying eggs? They don't even want to leave the coop. They just go in there. We bring the food in there. We have the door open and they just want to lay in there and dust bathe. So we're going to get some more hens this year. And then we have one goat named Fair Fawcett, who's very naughty. And then the Great Pyrenees livestock guardian dog. And so that's everything. Yeah, that's plenty. So I tell people.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot to clean up behind as well.
Yes, it is. It is. But, luckily this time of year, it's nice at the farm because it's not so hot and you don't have to fly. Anyone who has a farm knows that we use the fly predators to do all that. This time of year is so pleasant. Everyone's so happy, and but it's good. But yeah, that can be definitely a lot of cleanup.
Absolutely. So your sheep, you said that you're going to start lambing. Explain what that term means. I'm assuming that means that they're breeding.
That means the babies come.
Babies come.
Okay. Yeah. So the gestation is 5 months. So we put them with their guy, because we have 3 different rounds. So we put our girls that were breeding that year. We don't breed everyone every year. Like the girls who bred last year, they have this year off. Like I some people breed year after year after year, and I just don't do that because I think they need to recover. So we had our girls, the ewes, with the rounds. And so that, typically it's around, it could be plus or minus 30 days, but we would think around Easter, we would start having lambs. So lambing is when the lambs are coming. And that is when, I sleep in the barn, have my cot, I'm in there because they always decide they want to have the baby at like 2 a.m. I mean, it's like mine are like, let's not have it at 10 a.m. when you're here working. Let's wait to 3 a.m., 2 or 3 a.m. when you need to call somebody to help, wake somebody up at home to come help. So, but yeah, lambing. So we bred only 5 this year. And, we have never had triplets. We've had several sets of twins. So, we'll just see. You just never know what you're going to get, male, female. I mean, how many? We don't do ultrasounds or anything like that. So it's just a surprise when it happens.
So many questions in so little time. We'll be right back after we hear from our sponsors here on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
Hey, rideshare drivers and gig economy workers. The host of TNC Radio.live, the Rideshare Rodeo Podcast, and the Gig Economy Podcast come together for news, talk, music, stories, laughs, and more. We're live Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on TNC Radio.live.
You're listening to TNC Radio.live. Remember to tune into the Truckers Network radio show with Shelley Johnson, weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern.
For the latest in rideshare and gig economy news, visit UberLiftDrivers.com. That's UberLiftDrivers.com.
We are back and the questions continue.
So well, first of all, I have to ask, what is it like to sleep in a barn like that? And like, for how many days in a row do you have to do that?
The worst ever was one year I was in a barn for like 30 nights. It was horrible. It was one year where, yes, a best case is like 7 to 10 days because typically once one delivers, then they're like, boom, boom, they're after the other. And this year one delivered like early, and it might've been more than 30 days. And then one delivered like Mother's Day weekend. It was terrible. So, but it's just like, what happens is you have to get up and go check on them anyway. So by the time I get up and go to the barn and I check on them and I come back to lay down because I can't go back to sleep. So I just sleep in the barn. I have my cot in there. I have a great cot. Yeah, I have my little, you know what I mean? I mean, sometimes when it's really cold, it can be bad. I'm like under the sleeping bag, like in there with all my clothes on. But yeah, but no, I've done it for so many years. Like I said, I used to just drive down, but as you get older, you don't sleep well anyway. And I'm like, well, if I'm sleeping, because I've had some great sleep in a barn, So, yeah, I've had some great sleep. And, but it's just easier because, like I said, I would say 70% of the time they deliver it in the night. I don't know why. I'm like, there has to be a way. All my friends, they're like, oh, it's 1 p.m. I mean, I'm like, what? I never do that. But yeah, so lambing hopefully, you hope best case you're 10 to 14 days. Worst case was it may have been more than 30 days. It was so long that 1 year. You don't want to sleep out there when it's hot and mosquitoes. Yeah. But yeah, so I just have my cot and I have my, it's not heated, but I mean, it's like you're camping in a barn,
Oh, I would think those sheep would be so warm. I'd be snuggled up next to them.
Oh yeah, they're there, but they don't like, you know how a dog lays down, they sleep kind of all night. Like a sheep gets up and eats, and then they lay down, and they never just like sleep all night. So a lot of times they're up and down, so they don't rest a long, long time. So, but that's good. But a lot of times, we do have barn cats. They'll come in and hop on the cot with me or whatnot. But we do have several barn cats running around down there.
So how many lambs do they usually have? I mean, what's typical? Just 1 or 2 is typical?
It's 1 or 2. I have some friends who have a lot of triplets. We've just never had triplets. So, and I have one this year who's never had a baby. And then the others that are lambing this year I think all the others have had twins before. Now, not every time. So once they've had one as a twin, there's always more. Like I have one that I delivered last year. She's only had a single. Like if she had a twin at her, I would be shocked because it's kind of like if they're a twin or if they've had twins, you have more of a chance. But it's interesting. The ones that I have that have singles have always had singles. But I think all but one, they have all delivered twins before. So we could have 10, we could have 5, we could have 15 if they all had triplets. But like I said, we've never had triplets. So, but who knows? You just never know.
Yeah. Now, what do you do with your lambs? I mean, when they get to the age, you don't keep them all? Do you rehome them?
No, we
Or do
don't.
people purchase them for breeding?
Yeah. Yes. Every once in a while, if there's something just like really, like I had this lamb this year that her name's Baby Girl. I mean, she's adult now, but she's just the cutest thing you've ever seen. And I retained her for breeding in 2020. But a lot of ours are getting older and we're kind of at capacity on our land. So unless it's just something like I see that's like, okay, this genetics or the conformation, it's just like, I really want to add it to the breeding line. Typically they're already promised to somebody. And that's for people who are, spin the wool, or if you just want to have a hobby farm. And so usually when they're on the ground, they're already spoken for. So, it's, rare that we ever, have usually people have to wait a few years to get one from us because like I said, we don't overbreed. Yeah. So, like I think last year, they went to, Texas and then down in South Alabama. So yeah. And then the people from Texas want more this year. So, it's kind of like, I tell people, it's like, they're like potato chips. You cannot have just one. Well, you have to have two to begin with because they're flock animals. That's what I tell people. You can't just have a lamb, but they would not be happy. But it's kind of like you just, how I was going to have 4 and I ended up with 17. I mean, you just can't have just one. I just want to keep them all.
Well, they're so stinking cute. I went and looked at some of the pictures online, and I just think they're the cutest things in the world. I love them.
They're so cute, and they have like little heart noses. Like, if you look at their noses, they're shaped like little hearts, and that's the way we take on our product line. Most of the products have a little pencil sketch of one of the farm animals. Like they're the cover guy or the cover girl. Like Farrah Fawcett is in her goat's milk bath, and Sweet Pea's on her shea cream, and Clover the pig's on the lip smack. So that's another way that when we were thinking about that, marketing the products was a way when people got to know the animals, they could, when they purchase them, they're getting a little piece of the farm by their, and it usually has a cute little story about the animal on the product. So that was really great. And my husband's mom, she does all the pencil sketches for us. So that's been really special too, that she could be a part of this as well.
Great. What a sweet family legacy that is. I love it. Mm-hmm. So you have all these farm animals. Do you have farm favorites?
The sheep are definitely the favorite. I hate to tell her, but I don't know.
I love all. We won't tell the other animals.
I love all of them. But then I mean, I love all the animals, but then I have what's a wether, it's WETHER, is a fixed male sheep. And I have 3 of those, and they are like such love bugs. Like they love to be petted. I mean, everyone is friendly, but they are like Ollie and Albert and Static. They're really, very, very like so friendly. Like they want to get in the car with you. That's how friendly they are. So they're always, they're always farm favorites because they're so friendly.
Now, are you looking to add any other different types of animals, or do you have what you want right now?
Yeah, I have what I want. Our livestock guardians just turned 11, so we're not sure on that. We could maybe add an alpaca or a donkey, or we may go back with a dog because where we are, we border our neighbor is the Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. So you have lots of fox and coyote and raccoons, all sorts of things. So you really have to have predator protection. So that's upcoming, is deciding, okay, what's our next thought on how we want to protect the animal. And I'm always in denial because I want her to live forever, but I know she's 11 now. I mean, she's done a great, and she's still, I mean, you would never know she's 11. I mean, she's spirited, does a great job, but you don't want something to be at a point where you don't have something to protect them because, these animals, they don't have any defense mechanism.
True. Well, yeah, you got to prepare for as she gets older. That's maybe get a companion and for her last few years to learn the ropes. She can be in train. She can train somebody else. She'd probably like that.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
So you started doing your bath and beauty line because, like you said earlier, you were looking for a way to bring in additional income kind of during those off seasons or whatever. But tell us about the product lines that you have. I mean, there's a lot on your site. I'll just tell you all, there are so many products that 1818 Farms offers. If you have a significant other, male or female, there are products for men and women that would make fantastic gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, Valentine's gifts. There's so many. So tell us about some of your most popular gifts.
Yeah, definitely our number one seller is our shea cream. It's made from shea butter and coconut oil. And most every product that we make, it came from like a need that I had. So like today, I've been out gardening. I'm terrible not to wear gloves. Terrible. Because, we were weeding and doing everything. And then my hands get so dry from washing them so much and just from being outside. So I wanted something that wasn't full of water, a product. And this is like, if you try it, you're going to say, oh my goodness, is this jar empty? It's so light, but it's not full of water and preservatives. But you're shocked in that you only need a pea size and it lasts for so long. So I was trying to come up with, a product too that you just didn't go straight through. So the shea cream is definitely our number one seller. And then I would say probably what's up there close is we make what's called a botanical wax sachet. And it's basically like aromatherapy for your home. Think of it when you were talking about life the way it used to be, you always had a sachet you put in your drawer, like your, or your closet. And this is basically beeswax, and we air dry our flowers that we grow, and they're arranged like a piece of art. And then the hanger is our sheep's wool that's spun. So it looks like a little piece of art. And after a few months, the scent may go away a little, but then you still have this, something you can hang and look beautiful still. So those do really well. And our gift baskets are big sellers. Like we offer a lot of curated gifts. We offer things from $32 up to $150. If you're looking for something really, a higher end gift. So, but we have for male, we have, like you said, male, female, we have anyone. We even have like a little baby girl adventure kit that can be for a child, or we have the baby girl little plush toy, the little lamb. So we have a little bit for everybody really on your list.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. I was looking. It's not just bath and body products. I mean, you've got plenty of other things besides that if you're, happen to not be into lotions or creams or that kind of thing too.
Yes, because we have a lot of textiles like the Swedish dishcloths, pretty flour sack towels, and then we have a puzzle with our cute lamb on it. It's very popular. And we have coffee that we sell coffee to, bean or ground. And there's just a little bit, like our big thing this year has been, I don't know if the listeners had grown the loofah sponges, the loofah seeds. And I did a YouTube right before frost this year, kind of talking about how you can grow your own bath sponge. And so the seeds are always a good seller for us, but we try to offer seeds, heirloom seeds that I feel grow very well in this zone here. Well, you could grow them anywhere, but like the loofah especially, like it loves the heat. You just have to make sure you have it supported, but it's very interesting, this growing your own loofah sponge. But most people think they grow in the sea, they're from the sea, but really they grew in Alabama on an arch here.
I had no idea that you could grow them like that. I'm going to be going to YouTube and watching how that process works because I had no idea.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. It takes a long time, as far as days till it's ready to peel, because basically it looks like think of a zucchini that's as long as your leg or your arm, and it's growing. We have ours growing on arches, and as it matures, think, a zucchini is green, it becomes yellow and then becomes a little more speckled yellow, and then it turns brown or like a tan, and you can shake it and you can hear the seeds. And that means it's, it goes from, we were going to weigh ours last year because there's so much moisture in it, but as it dries, you just peel it, and then we have to clean it and process it. And then you have, like, I use them to wash our dishes. I use it in the shower, use a bath sponge, but I really like it cleaning the dishes a lot because they're kind of the ends of those. A lot of people use them when they make soaps with them. They'll put them in and pour the soap around them. But I like them just so much for my household uses. I'm like, I don't know if I'll do that. That's an option we could do. But those are really, and I hear a lot of people say, oh my gosh, my nanny or my grandpa grew these when I was a little kid, and I haven't seen these in years. And I, just wanted to do something different last year, and it's really been a fun thing. And everyone who came to the farm was like, I love your zucchini. I'm like, those aren't zucchini, those are loofah. So I feel like I'm making the world's growing all their own sponges because of me.
I love it. I love it. How interesting. I bet a lot of people, I would have been like, what? You're growing a loofah? That just never would have occurred to me. So that is quite interesting.
I don't know about y'all, but I learned an awful lot about growing loofahs. We'll be right back on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
Join Tom Kelly and the rest of the team each day on the Morning Grind. Then stay tuned for an encore presentation of last night's Landline Now. Weekdays on tncradio.live.
Hi, I'm Hope Savara. Join us every Monday on TNC Radio Live at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's Building Strong Minds.
TNCradio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Get with Ron Frazier for Truckers Life Radio at 9, 8 Central Mondays on tncradio.live.
We're down to our last few minutes with Natasha McCrary from 1818 Farms. We're going to talk about the activities that you have going on the farm, Natasha.
So what other activities do you offer? I mean, you've mentioned that you used to do, tours or dinners or things like that. I mean, can people come and visit the farm if they wanted to? Because, everybody's wanting to go visit and hang out with animals, cows and goats.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Our hours are limited to the public, but we have, in the summer, we have what's called a bloom, stroll, and bouquet workshop. And you actually, learn how to build a bouquet, get to cut flowers. It's really a fun workshop. And then this spring, we haven't announced the dates yet, but we're going to have what's called some Fresh Flower Fridays, where you can come and see the flowers. And hopefully, we're trying to wait until we know we have lambs on the ground. Because usually by then the flowers are looking very good. So we thought that would be a nice touch this year. So it gets into the summer. Once you get into the heat of the summer, the animals just want to stay in the barn. Yeah, you live in Alabama. When it's so hot, I'm like, people will be like, oh, I want to pet the animal. And I'm like, they do not want to even eat feed. They're just laying in the shade. But we're going to have some of those days like that. And then we host some garden clubs and things like that. But we stopped doing the dinners in 2020. Our chef retired after 2019 and then with COVID. And then our flower side of the business became such that we really could not, because the same people who work the tours, we did do tours April, May, every day but Wednesday and Sunday. We didn't do Sunday tours. We did those, but the same people who were working the tours worked the flowers. And if you work a tour, typically we wouldn't be done until 12 o'clock, 12:30, and then we still had the same amount of work because the flowers have taken up such an amount of our business now. So we do subscription bouquets and we dry bouquets, we press bouquets, we take the press and we pour that with resin, and so we make platters and trays, and then we also do natural textile dyeing. So, and it's all the same people who do all that. So really the tours have fallen more where we just have limited days. Like we had one really big day last May and a pretty big one in November, but we've just, had more people come, but we just, we couldn't, it's just at the time we just don't have the labor to be open like that anymore.
Right. I can totally understand that. Do you guys I'm thinking it's got to be a beautiful place to do like a wedding or something like that.
We used to do weddings years ago, but now because we have expanded our flower fields, it would be like need to be a wedding for 10 people because it's you know what I'm saying? Because we have our pavilion, but like where they did the ceremony now is all flowers. So that's what I tell people. I say there's really nowhere, because every year I just add more beds. I mean, you're like thinking, could you add anything else? I'm like, oh yeah, let's add more. You know, I'm like, there's not much green space. I mean, there's green space and that you have flowers, but you know what I'm saying? An area
That's
where
open,
you would have
yeah.
a ceremony. But yes, so, but in Mooresville, there is a beautiful place, the Brick Church here. It's from the early 1800s, and they do rent that church out for weddings. It's absolutely gorgeous. So if anybody is looking for like a destination wedding, that is a beautiful destination, the Mooresville Brick Church.
Well, they could come to you for a bouquet, and they could come to you for bridesmaids' gifts.
Yes, they totally can. I know. I love when brides, you know, we don't do huge weddings, but when they say, hey, I just need some bouquets and boutonnieres and I want whatever's in season, I'm like, you are my bride. But it's hard, you know, like here's an example of right now we're harvesting anemones, which is, they're a beautiful flower. I just posted like some close-ups of them on our Instagram. I never order red because they don't go with our palettes. They just don't go with our palettes. So, you know, ours are more pastels. There are some brighter colors, but I will you just can't put, like right now I have pink tulips. Well, red anemone and a pink tulip, they don't go well. Our anemones started blooming about 2 weeks ago. Half of them are red.
Oh.
So if I had a bride and I said, oh, I ordered all pastel anemones. Well, I did order all pastel anemones. However, I have mostly reds. I mean, so that's another thing is I always am nervous about promising someone 6 months in advance, I'll have this flower, because I did not order that flower, and that's what I have. So I always like when the bride says designer's choice, you know, use what you think is pretty. So, but it would not be red. I mean, I will tell you that right now. So we're pressing a lot of those red flowers. I mean, we're just doing those in the flower press because, like I said, we were not expecting. I mean, I was very specific in that I ordered no red. It's the most red we've ever had. So,
oops. Well, you were meant to have some red for some reasons.
Maybe so. I don't know, but it's very interesting. So, yeah, a lot of reds.
So how do you want to see 1818 Farms grow from here? You've seen a lot of change from when you first started. It's turned into a completely different business, probably from where you first started. Where do you want to see it? Excuse me. Where do you want to see it go from here, and what's left on your bucket list to accomplish?
Yes, well, it's interesting because we have a few things that I really, as I was telling you, love the education portion. So I'm hoping to be able to add more hands-on as far as I wanted this year. Like a lot of people have seen us do the natural textile dyeing, but they haven't done it, but have a day where you can come watch, or you could come, you do, you know, make a scarf. Our big undertaking for this year is I have so many people who want to have a small cutting garden at their house, and I'm just got my nursery grower certificate, because when you're a cut flower, as long as it doesn't have a root attached to it, you don't have to have that certificate. It's when you sell a plant that has a root, you have to, like we just were inspected by the state of Alabama, actually, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe. But I'm going to be offering a sort of a workshop that you can do at your house, but we'll do it together, and I'll provide all what I consider the essential flowers to have your own cut flower garden at your house, so you can make bouquets, you know, all summer long. So that's been a goal, something I've wanted to do for a long time, and it's a way for people not to just come here and have a nice time and learn to build a bouquet, but I'm wanting to take that a step further, and that we're going to allow, you know, have an opportunity for people we'll grow it together. You know, we're going to do videos, and given now they have to come pick that up at the farm, because I'm not going to ship them. That's the only thing I tell people. Our inspector says, now you can ship them. I'm like, there is no way I'm shipping 24 plants. So it's about 24 cutting plants. I said, I ship a lot of products, and know if something gets lost in the mail, I can replace it. If the plugs get broken or the plants, I can't replace, you know, because if I'm going to do, you know, X number of kits, I'm only going to start X number of plants. So we'll have a date this spring where people can come to the farm and pick up their plants, and we'll probably have an option if they just want to do the plant, they can do the plant, or if they want to do the grow along. There could be somebody who's a master gardener and they really don't care to do the plants, but I'm wanting to have it where I can talk about preparing your soil. If you mix your soil in a raised bed, let's build the raised bed. Let's plant it together. Let's net it. Let's troubleshoot. Let's do weekly, updates on how everything's growing. Do we pinch the flowers? When should we harvest it for the bouquet? Let's build a bouquet together. And then probably the last thing will be like putting it to bed, because some things in that kit will be perennials, so that will come back year after year. Some things will be annuals that when the frost comes, either you could have saved the seed from it to start it the next year, or you'll want to clean that bed out. So that's that's probably for me the big thing I'm wanting to do this year. I always seem like I have something big. Last year was the resin, the pressed flower resin, and the natural textile dyeing. I mean, I started working on the textile dyeing in 2020, but to get it where it was sellable was that, because there's just a lot of unknowns on that there's just not a lot of information. So that took a long time to get that ready. So that's our big thing. It's just more education, a lot more videos. I'm trying to do a lot more videos online as well.
I love that. What a great creative outlet for people too. People if you're like me, I'm always looking for something new to learn and a new creative outlet. And that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not a plant person. I mean, I can kill a cactus, so that it would take a little work for me. But it might be something that I can mark off my list that I can accomplish keeping some flowers alive.
Well, and we have in our kit, like there's things that we grow that the average home grower can't get. Like Lysianthus are very hard because we have to buy like 220. So we already have those. We have some things that are unusual in the kit.
That sounds quite interesting. So if you all are listening and you're making a trip somewhere, be on the lookout for 1818 Farms when she's going to announce that for next year. You can make a pit stop through there on the day and get your flowers for your trip home. So where can people connect with 1818 Farms and buy your products, or, know exactly where to go to visit? Where can they find you?
So you can go to 1818farms.com to purchase, or we have around 500 retailers in the United States who carry our products. And there's a little, it's called the 1818 Farms Retail Locator. And you can put in your zip code and find out if you're the store nearest you. And that's a great way. If you want to know about workshops and classes and the days we're open, typically what we do is we have a email list, and we call that our priority contact. So we email. So let's say the end of February, we're going to have our workshops. We're going to have our Fresh Flower Friday date. Everything for the year, the curated cut flower collection, we'll have that up, and we email that information to that email list first. Okay. Then it goes public on social media afterwards, because we like to give the people who have supported us for so long first choice in case something sells out. So you will not get very many emails from me at all. I'm not the person who will load your inbox. It's usually something important, or it's a nice, a blog, it's something interesting that's happened. It's not going to be every day like an email. You know how some people I get an email every day, and when I'm like, please, I do not need an email every day. But that's a great way. And then on YouTube is just 1818 Farms, and then on all the other social channels, it's just 1818 Farms also.
So everywhere. You can find her everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon, Etsy. You're everywhere.
I'm there. We're there. So, but yes. And like I said, hopefully our goal is the end of February, 1st of March, is to have those dates kind of nailed down of when we think the farm will be open.
Well, I sure appreciate you spending time with me today. You have a lot going on. I know you're so busy. It took us a while to get connected to get this recorded. And I appreciate you stopping work for an hour to spend some time with me and my audience. And we're going to all go check you out. And I'm going to keep directing people to your site for your products. I'm all about products that can be used. We all have so much stuff. So I love buying products and gifts and things that can be used up every day. And so I love the thought of, creams and lotions and soaps and all that kind of stuff. So we'll keep sending people your direction. And gosh, if you just need a pick me up, go to Facebook or Instagram and look at the pictures. I mean, these little babies make you smile, and it's almost like it's almost like a relaxation thing to go and just scroll through the videos and the photos. So thank you for sharing your farm with us and your history with us, and excited to see where you go from here.
Thank you for having me, Shannon.
I had such a great time this evening with Natasha McCrary from 1818 Farms. 1818 Farms is located in Mooresville, Alabama. To learn more about 1818 Farms, visit their website at 1818farms.com. Or you can sign up for their mailing list as well. I hope you've had as much fun as I have had and learned some about 1818 Farms. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next week here on tncradio.live on the Southern Route. I'm your host, Shannon Currier. Talk to you next time.
Do you have the tncradio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the tncradio.live app today.
Don't forget, you can hear all of our TNC Radio primetime shows again on our podcasts. Just go to tncradio.live/podcasts or search for tncradio.live wherever you listen to podcasts.
Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, tncradio.live.
Hey drivers, did you hear music on tncradio.live that you really liked? Or maybe you heard us interview an author of a book you'd like to read or listen to. You can get the books, music, and other products you hear about by going to our website at www.tncradio.live and clicking on the shopping cart.